whole question of the orientation towards change and the extent to which your environment can affect that. One of the reasons I've gotten more interested in the topic of passion, which, you know, for the clients that I deal with, which are typically
Deloitte's clients want to know about passion.
No, Deloitte's clients, when I go talk to them about passion, they kind of look at me, you know, twisting their head this way and that. And finally, somebody asked me, you know, where are you from, John? I said, I'm from California. And all of a sudden, I get these knowing nods from around the table. Well, oh, he's one of those. One of those new age types, you know, who believes in fulfillment. And you know, I actually came to it from a very different angle, which is the notion of performance. And I believe we're in an environment that is demanding sustained extreme performance improvement. And so the question is, where do you see that, and how do you get that? And from our experience, where you see it is typically, first of all, not in most work environments. You have to go to things like extreme sports, big wave surfing being a great example, or to online video game environments like World of Warcraft, where you see the sustained extreme performance improvement. And the common element across all these environments that are quite diverse is passion of the participants. And the way I tie it back to the executives that were still looking at me and maybe allowing me to continue for a while, is to say, you know, imagine a frontline worker in your company who confronts an exception, something that wasn't anticipated, wasn't part of the plan. What's the reaction of that worker? And from my experience, most workers are not passionate, and the response of the average worker is, first of all, to ignore it, hope it goes away. It sometimes does go away, and that's great. If it doesn't, they try to ignore it, but sometimes it has to be addressed, and so they try to paper it over and just get back to the assigned task. That's the orientation.
I thought mostly they would just say, oh good, I can stop working.
No. Well, if it's that level of exception, yes, I can go home, wait for somebody to fix it. But on the other hand, the passionate worker, when confronted with an exception at work, their reaction is, wow, that's really interesting. You know, I never saw that before. This is a chance to really think through something and push myself to the next level. And you know, I turn to the executives and I say, you know, if you're serious about sustained extreme performance improvement, which worker do you want in your front line? And passionate worker, I believe, is going to deliver that. And so they're the ones embracing change. And in fact, if they don't have change, they get bored and they want to leave. You know?
Or you can use another word for passionate, which is curious. It's that some other guy said that most inventions don't begin with eureka. They begin with, that's funny.
Yes.
And
yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
How did that?
This mold, there's no more disease. How penicillin was discovered, it killed a whole bunch of things in the petri dish. That kind of thing.
Yeah. The distinction I would make, though, between curiosity and passion, and I think passionate people are intrinsically curious, is curiosity is a more passive kind of event. It's, wow, that's really interesting. Let me learn about it. Let me find out about it. Versus, to me, a passionate person is one who goes to the next level of saying, I want to do something about it. I want to make a difference. And so, yes, I'm curious, because to make a difference, I have to learn about things and get to the next level. But the key for the passionate person is, I want to make a difference. I don't want to just read about it, find out about it. I want to
and in the spirit of news you can use in a marketplace now where anybody can copy what you're doing almost overnight.
Yes.
The only thing that differentiates you is your people, one way or another, whether it's their customer service or their ability to have that passion and develop the next version of the product sooner, faster, better.
Yeah, it's that continual questing, getting to that next level, and never sitting back and saying, wow, good, I've done it. Now I can relax.
So should we relax and let
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to talk about at some point is regime change within companies, but I'll let somebody ask about that.
Excellent.
Jeff Sampson, International Business School. The topic that is interesting as a spin-off of what you're talking about, passion at work is different than well-being and happiness, particularly societal. The Valley is very well known for having passionate people, many of whom burn out and many of whom are very unhappy. Yet places like Australia or New Zealand may not have as much innovation, but generally people there have a sense of well-being and are generally happy with their lives. And Daniel Kahneman has talked about this in terms of the experiencing self, what we experience in the moment, and the remembering self. What is the narrative that we have? So taking it out of the workplace in terms of being incredibly productive and innovative and coming up with the next chip, what is it that you've learned about happiness and well-being and I believe Deepak Chopra talks about this in terms of engagement. That if somebody is engaged at work, not necessarily passionate, but engaged and feel that they're doing something that has a higher value, they're far more happier than the person who's continually passionate and says, boy, I can improve it. So I'd like you to talk a little bit in that dimension, if you would.
Wow. Where to start? So engagement, I think, is important. Let me go back to Silicon Valley. First of all, my experience, and I'm just getting into this, I'm still on the edge of passion. My experience is that passionate people are different from obsessive people, number one. I think that's often confused, and people often view obsession as kind of an extreme form of passion. I view them as total opposite ends of the spectrum. Passionate people, almost by instinct, because they're in this for the long term, they want to make a difference throughout their life. It's not just about getting the project done, getting the company built. It's about a commitment to make a difference throughout your life.
Meaningfulness.
Yes. And as a result, they pace themselves. Passionate people, in the way I'm talking about, don't burn out. They're in it. They're the marathoners. They're not in it for the sprint. And so they don't burn out. They pace themselves, and they're constantly trying to get the right balance so that they can make a difference going forward. So I think that's an interesting contrast to reflect on. I think the notion of engaged people being happy, absolutely. You know, to me, that's the definition of engagement in work, is are you happy with the work you're doing and with the people you're working with? And that's great. I'd say, in fact, for most US companies, in fact, probably most companies around the world, levels of engagement are tiny. But passion is, to me, the next level. It's the notion of, I'm not just happy with the work I'm doing. In fact, I may be really dissatisfied, frustrated, because I see all the opportunities and I see the barriers that have been put in my way to making that kind of impact. So they're frustrated, but I think at the end of the day, they're much happier because over time, they are making a difference. And I think ultimately, all of us as human beings want to make a difference. It may be in a very small sphere, small part of our lives, but we want to know we're making a difference, and we'd like to know that we can make increasing difference over time. So I'm sorry, I'm just passionate about the topic.
Just a short response. I think people who are workaholics count what they do. People who are passionate value what they do.